For decades, Western media painted Muammar Gaddafi as a ruthless dictator. But beneath the headlines, Libya under Gaddafi was a nation with some of the highest living standards in Africa. His policies provided free electricity, education, healthcare, and financial assistance to his people, things that many Western nations couldn't match. Yet, despite, or perhaps because of, his efforts to make Libya independent and prosperous, he met a violent end. But why was Gaddafi really killed? What led to the destruction of Libya as a sovereign state? The answer is deeper than what mainstream history tells us. A nation without poverty under Gaddafi, Libya was one of the few nations in the world that provided free electricity to all its citizens. Utility bills were unheard of, an almost utopian concept compared to other oil-rich nations where citizens still had to pay for essential services. Libyan banks were state-owned, and interest-free loans were available to all. It was illegal to charge interest on loans, following Islamic banking principles. This policy prevented financial exploitation and ensured that people could own homes and businesses without being trapped in debt. Speaking of homes, Gaddafi personally vowed not to buy a house for his parents until every Libyan had a place to live. This was not just rhetoric. Libya had a housing program that granted newlyweds 60,000 dinars, enough to buy an apartment and start their families. Education and healthcare, a right, not a privilege before Gaddafi, only 25% of Libyans were literate. During his rule, literacy skyrocketed to 83%. Education was not just free, it was a priority. If a Libyan student wanted to pursue studies abroad, the government funded their tuition and living expenses. Healthcare was also free. Libyans didn't have to worry about hospital bills or expensive medicine. If a treatment wasn't available in Libya, the government would pay over $2,300 in travel and accommodation expenses to receive medical care abroad. Wealth redistribution and economic freedom. Gaddafi's economic model ensured that Libya's oil wealth benefited its people. A portion of Libya's oil sales was directly deposited into citizens' bank accounts. Unlike other oil-rich nations where wealth was concentrated among elites, Gaddafi ensured ordinary Libyans shared in the country's prosperity. Libya had no external debt. Its reserves stood at an astounding $150 billion, funds that were later frozen and seized by Western powers after his fall. Unemployment was not a crisis in Libya. If a citizen couldn't find a job after graduation, the government paid them an average salary until they found one. Such a policy prevented homelessness and extreme poverty. A revolution in infrastructure. The Great Man-Made River Project. One of Gaddafi's greatest achievements was the Great Man-Made River Project, the world's largest irrigation system. This massive project ensured water supply to Libya's desert regions, turning arid land into fertile farmland. If a Libyan family wished to become farmers, the government provided free seeds, livestock, and farming equipment. This self-sufficiency was a cornerstone of Gaddafi's vision, a Libya that would never be dependent on foreign aid or imports. The West's problem with Gaddafi's policies made Libya an economic powerhouse and a symbol of African independence. He sought to unite Africa under a single currency backed by gold, the gold dinar. This move threatened the dominance of the US dollar and Western financial institutions. Many believe this was the final straw. Western powers could not allow a self-sufficient Libya that challenged their economic hegemony. The 2011 NATO intervention, framed as a humanitarian mission, led to Gaddafi's brutal assassination and the destruction of Libya's stability. What happened after Gaddafi? After Gaddafi's fall, Libya descended into chaos. The nation that once had free electricity, debt-free citizens, and high living standards became a failed state plagued by civil war, terrorism, and human trafficking. The promises of Western democracy never materialized. Instead, Libya became a battleground for foreign interests. Oil wealth that once funded social programs now fell into the hands of warlords and foreign corporations. A legacy erased. Muammar Gaddafi's true legacy is one that challenges Western narratives. He was not just a dictator, he was a leader who sought to uplift his people, free his nation from economic slavery, and challenge the global financial order. But for that, he was removed. His nation was dismantled, and his dreams of a prosperous Libya were buried under the rubble of war. Now the question remains, was Gaddafi's Libya truly the oppressive state the West claimed, or was he killed because he dared to defy the system? If you found this perspective eye-opening, share this video and let others learn the truth about Gaddafi's Libya. Subscribe for more deep dives into history's hidden stories. Let's reclaim the narratives that were stolen from us. Do you think Gaddafi's policies were good for Libya? Was his downfall inevitable, or could history have taken a different turn? Leave a comment below. We'd love to hear your thoughts.